Hi, this is Alex from Groovy Entertainment. Today we got another movie collection video to do. Today in my movie collection, we're going to talk about Dick Tracy. Now we got all these Dick Tracy. We got, see, two, four, six. We got seven Dick Tracy movies to talk about in my collection. And we're going to talk about the first one from 1937. Now in 1937, the first movie called Dick Tracy. It was a 12 chapter serial that you went to the theater, I think every Saturday to watch each of the chapters until it ended on the 12th one. And I think you watched these before the movie came out. And this was a pretty good one. This had a lot of action after you got through I think the first episode was kind of slow, but when you got to episode 3, that's when all the action kept going nonstop. Then in 1973, they they made the 1937 serial into a short movie. So instead of watching almost a 5 hour movie, they cut it down to an hour, maybe an hour and 45 minutes or less, in a condensed everything, so it looks more, it runs even faster. I never seen the short version movie before, but they did this in '73. I don't know if this came to TV theaters. And then our second one, they made a part two to the 1937 one called Dick Tracy Returns in 1938. Now this one had even more action than the first movie, and now this was a 15 chapter one. So you had to go to the theater every Saturday to watch 15 episodes. And of course now you can watch the whole thing if you have 4 or 5 hours to spare. And let's see what we got. And the bad guy that played in this movie, he played in the Flash Gordons. The what do they call him? Ming the Merciless. So you get to see him in this one. I think this is after after Flash Gordon. The Flash Gordon came out in the before Dick Tracy did, and this was good. I think they had some of the Dick Tracy TV newspaper, or not TV newspaper, TV comic violence. They had it in the movie. And then they made a part. See, then they made part three. Dick Tracy, Dick Tracy G-Man from 1939, and you had the same 15 chapters episodes. So they kept getting they stayed like this because they could show more action to the audience. I'm thinking, and like I said, all these was in the close to the 5 hour mark. Cause I saw all of these at one time, so I had really nothing to do, so I sat for all of these. And sometimes they could get boring because they weren't meant to be like that. And this one kind of was pretty good because you had a bad guy that got killed off, and then he came back as a zombie or whatever. So this is your first kind of super bad guy, and now we have the last serial. So that's okay. Look at their DVDs. I don't know if you can hear me dropping them, but if you can't, then this is the last one from 1941, and this one was Dick Tracy versus Crime Inc. The same 15 episode chapters. This one, he have to fight a supervillain. It's like I think he's what GI Joe got their idea from. Destro, the guy with the metal face, because just like the GI Joe bad guy. I know you can't see it too good, so I'm thinking 41 years later, the GI Joe people saw this movie, and this was real good. had your shooting up, your blowing up things and stuff. And the same guy played all the Dick Tracys. Ralph Bird. He played the first one all the way until the last stereo. Now let me pick up the movie they dropped. Okay. Now we're gonna talk about this one. Now, if you saw my unboxing episode, you got a head start of what this was. Now, the first one, Dick Tracy Detective, was from 1945. With a Now we got a different Dick Tracy character. The same it's Dick Tracy, but another actor played him. Morgan Conway played Dick Tracy for most of these movies, and they were pretty good. They were not long like the serials. These movies ran for I think they was no longer than an hour and 15 minutes long. So you can watch them kind of fast. You can watch all these movies in less than 3 hours, or yeah, about 3 hours. You can watch these all four of these movies. And then the Chasey versus Cue Ball for 1946. That was the second one, and Cue Ball was a super villain. Now these bad guys was not in the newspaper. They made their own because they didn't want to pay for the extra rights for the comics, for the comic bad guy. And the writer of the Dick Tracy loved these movies. He was watching them through the whole time they were creating these movies, from the serials to this. So that's very good. It's like the Tarzan writer. He was watching the old Tarzan people, all the Tarzan, when he was there watching them create his masterpiece in movie form. And then we got Dick C. Trying to read these. And then we got 1947. The last two. Okay, 1947. Ralph Bird came back. The guy who did the serial Dick Tracy. He came back for the last two movies. No, see, so Dick Tracy meet Gruesome, and Dick Tracy. Let's see what that one says. Diplomacy or something like that. He came back to do the last two movies, and the last two films was pretty good because you had Gruesome with Boris Karloff, the guy who did Frankenstein and all the old monster movies back in the 30s and 40s, and he was a kind of a two-faced character. His face was half human and half messed up. Then Dick Tracy Death or whatever. You had Dick Tracy versus a guy with a claw or a hook hand. They call him the Claw, but he had a hook and he was deformed. Cue Ball had something on his face that you couldn't see who the guy was. So these was pretty dope. So these was real good movies. And then they had a TV show in the 50s that you can Ralph Burr did the TV shows, but he died before he could finish. He died in the second season from a heart attack. So they only did two seasons of the TV show from the 50s. You can find a couple of episodes on the Amazon, eBay, stuff like that. But I don't got none of them. And then in the 1960s, after dropping my movies, they made a cartoon version of Dick Tracy that was real good. In the cartoon, they brought all the villains from the newspaper to life. from the Dick Tracy show, and this had Dick Tracy would never really in the show much. He was only in the beginning and at the end. But you had his sidekicks. You had, let's see, you had Joe Jitsu, the Chinese guy who was always doing karate on the bad guys. You had Go Go Gizmo. He was he was a Spanish guy who was like speed like the Fast Mouse and the Looney Tunes, Speedy Gonzales. And then you had Hippo Canary, a Carnary. I think he was the dog. Can't remember I think he was the dog, Canary. And then you had okay, that was only four. You had Jujitsu, the Chinese guy. They don't got the third one. And then you had all the bad guys from the newspaper. And that was pretty good that they got them all right, got them talking the way they were probably supposed to talk. And this had 130 episodes. And this was real good. It was fast paced. I think the show was a half, I think 25 minutes, but you had two cartoons on in the half hour show. And then Dick Tracy disappeared for decades until 1990 when they did the new Dick Tracy movie with Warren Beatty in the style of the Batman 1989 movie. And then Dick Tracy just disappeared. You can so read Dick Tracy in the newspaper somewhere. He's so he's so in other states' newspapers. But you can always read the old newspapers from the 30s to the 70s if you go on Amazon and buy the books. And we're gonna do an episode about the books I do have of all the Dick Tracy newspapers, and we're gonna talk about them. So this is part one of Dick Tracy. We're gonna do part two of Dick Tracy, but it'll be the book version. So stay tuned for that. So please like, subscribe, share, comment, and have a groovy day. And I love when you comment about your memories about stuff. So I get to talk with you, and you get to tell me what I show you meant to you way back when. So nice hearing from you. So I have another video coming out real soon.